this manna, Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do? Back at you on a Wednesday from the Fishbowl Radio Network, the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Coach Jay in the building, of course. Off the road, Coast to Coast Athletics, CEO and Epic Sports Apparel. Got my guy, Coach Lee from Metro Performance. He's in the building. We're going to talk about training, a few things. You know, we had the combine, the NFL combine over the weekend. We'll talk about that this weekend in Texas. Under Armour camp, Saturday and Sunday, Houston and Dallas. We'll talk about some things after we get done talking to Coach Lee about his new things that he has going on. We were just talking a little bit off camera, preparing for a combine setting, preparing for a camp. That's something we've been talking about. If you've been paying attention from week to week or listening, we appreciate everybody that's been tapping in. But things that go along with exposure, things that go along with helping you through the recruiting process has been something we've been hitting you over the head with week to week. Another avenue that's real important is how you get ready for these type of avenues and camps and exposures, 7-on-7 and things like that. We've been talking about that. But come on in, my guy, Coach Lee, in the building, man. Listen, this is family, man. It's his second appearance here, man. Tap in with this guy. We're going to give you where you can follow him at on social media before we leave. But, Coach, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm blessed. I appreciate y'all, man.
Love it.
Bring the mic to you.
I got to show y'all love. I got to show y'all love, man.
St. Louis, homie.
Yes, sir, man. Show me state. Man, I'm blessed to be here. I appreciate it, and man, I'm ready to get this thing started. So I'll shoot. I guess I can go ahead and
absolutely. First, for the listeners that haven't seen you before, just a little bit on your background, and then get into what you're working on now.
Okay. So I'm a sports performance trainer. Also 7v7 coach, combine coach as well. Essentially Metro Performance. If you guys need to follow me, Lee _ Metro, or Metro Performance _7. All platforms. But anyway, look, I'm here just to really just get a game and just tell them about how God has been good to me and blessed me. I just recently got a promotion, Director of Sports Performance. So essentially, I'm integrating programs into Redline. Also, I'm ahead of the preparation as far as testing. We have a 12-week cycle to where we evaluate our athletes and essentially show them the ropes on how to properly run a 40-yard, 5, 10, 5 broad jump, vertical jump. So we test those kids every 12 weeks just to see where they're at and to let their parents know that they are getting better, because they always going to get better when you're working with Coach Swag.
Absolutely. Talk about Redline Athletics. That's a facility, group that's really been pressing into Texas here recently. Exactly where you're at, and kind of some of the things you just shared a little bit about the combine testing, but you guys do more than that as well.
Correct. So, overall, we work on speed, agility, and strength. We also work on hand-eye coordination, mobility, and flexibility. All the things that make you an all-around, pure, great athlete. Essentially, a Redline, like you said, man, it's booming here in Texas. They have Redlines in Apparel, McKinney, Frisco, where I'm based at. And they also have, I believe, they got one Keller and Arlington. So Redline is most definitely trying to show themselves, and so we love to see it. And when you just think about Redline, you honestly just think about an environment to where any ages between 7 and 18, and even we want to get you family in. So clearly 18 is not the limit, but that's kind of where we stop it at, so to speak. But we're trying to level up. Shout out to the new owner Jessen Merle. He gave me the opportunity to actually be the director of sports performance. So we're going to try to do a couple of things, including have a Redline Football Academy powered by Metro.
Love it.
So we really about to go crazy and take off.
Man, that's awesome, man. Congratulations, Coach. We've been talking behind the scenes for a couple of months. And that, a real big thing that you wanted to come out and introduce here today on the show. But when you first get a kid, let's start, between the ages of 10 and 12, and Coach chime in after this. You're looking at the overall athleticism at that particular time. Break down some of the things that you look for mechanically when you're very, in the infant stages of starting the process of training a new athlete.
Okay. Well, just me personally, just Coach Swag mode. Like I'm really paying attention to the small things. I'm looking at when we warming up and how you stretching. I'm looking to see if you can even balance properly. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people just go through the motions, but I'm really looking on the high end points. How is their ankle stability? How's their hip mobility and stability? Even to us going into a quad pull and then reaching down to scoop and touch your toes. I need to see if you can balance correctly. If you can't balance correctly, it might be something off. It could be some hip alignment. It could be anything of that nature to where I got to say, okay, this is where I got to nip it in the bud and I got to go to work and take care of the issue. So, I mean, honestly, whether people believe it or not, even the pros we see have certain issues, whether it's weakness in the hip joints or knee joints, to where it's preventing them to do what they need to do and be fully capable to essentially perform at their highest peak. So even at 10 and 12, I'm looking at all those small things and those small keys and small factors to determine what I need to do and how I need to work with this athlete. So,
Coach, talk about that a little bit. I know that you like to get them very young. Develop now for being greater later is one of the things that you live on.
For me, the key factor is moving on all planes, is making sure that, one, they get familiar with the mind telling the body exactly what to do. So most times, most kids, you say move, they move, right?
Right.
But they lose the connection between where that signal is coming from. So if I'm telling my legs to do something specific and I can't do it, that's because there's a disconnect between the mind and your foot or whatever body part is actually doing it. So we have to first determine if there is a disconnect and then slowly start to work them in a fun way. You don't want it to be too much work at 8, 9, 10. You want it to be fun, interactive, because you want to get feedback.
Correct.
So that way they can learn, okay, this is how that is. So I asked a ton of questions. How did that feel? Where did you feel it? And at first, they don't have a clue.
Right.
But the more you do it, then they can start to say, hey, I can take ownership of who
Correct.
I am, which is my body.
Correct.
Right? So for me, the earlier you can do that, the greater you're going to become later, because you can actually tell your body what to do and it does it. The biggest problem I see in a lot of sports is you have a ton of guys moving, but then when you slow it down and say, hey, specifically, target this, they're lost because, again, there's a disconnect. Right? So the functional movement part is, let's slow it all the way down and let's make those connections, and then let's move forward.
Well, those are the type of things. Everything starts from the ground up as well. And, having been around you guys both, I can see the different things. But sometimes you have to have that different voice.
Absolutely.
Showing you what to do. Speak about that a little bit.
Sure.
Absolutely. From being able to do it and actually talk through it, it takes patience, right? Because, again, you're going to have that thing where most kids get frustrated because I can't do it, right? So now you have to be able to talk them through that and not expect them to, be perfect. So having that understanding of, hey, you have to find a way to reach that particular person that's standing in front of you. So for me, my questions are always in the sense of, I want to learn you. How do you learn? So I'm asking, what'd you eat for breakfast? What'd you do last night? So it's not just to be nosy, it's to find out how you answer questions so I know how to coach you. So those things are so important. And then do you learn, in a certain way? So that way I can pull those tools out of my bag to help you get to that point. So it just makes you a better coach when you can take a step back and say, okay, let me teach you from where you are versus me just saying this is my system. If it don't work for you, or it don't work at all, right? The biggest thing for me is how can I reach you, right? So if you learn a certain way, I have to sharpen my skill to be able to reach you where you are, not the other way around.
And to add on to that, when you do things like that, it also builds a connection with you and the athlete. And typically that's what I do as well. And so sometimes I'm able to relate based on the questions that I'm asking the individual or the athlete. And so now they feel more comfortable with talking to me, and now they're like, Coach, but I didn't get it when I did A, B, and C, versus, like you said, sticking to a system, and now the kid might be a little nervous to speak up or say anything. You got to be that individual's, you more than just a trainer.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? We're a mentor, we a friend, and at the same time, we coach. You know what I'm saying? And so that's another thing that I like to teach my athletes is I'm your friend. Hey, I'm a mentor. I'm a big brother, but I'm a coach first. And so I need you guys to know and to always know and understand the difference. And so the way you guys act, it needs to act accordingly. So when you go to a college coach, or when you go to a high school coach, or when you go to an adult, it's a certain way you present yourself just because it's the certain relationship that you're giving out. If you're not friend, everybody can't be Coach Swag. So you can't be friends and you can't talk like that to everybody. It's a certain amount of respect, and there's a certain way you move approaching every single individual. And so on top of training, we training on top of training, if that makes sense. And
Absolutely.
And that's just, I would like to say that's just awareness. You know what I'm saying? That's a communication awareness thing. That's a human nature awareness thing, just knowing and understanding, because at this point, the way the game is changing and the way sports are is so diverse, and there's so many different cultures. But guess what? All cultures move differently. You know what I'm saying? And so being able to break that thing down for the athlete and for the individual is major, and it's a major key for me. And I truly can say that's exactly why I see success, whether I'm training a Hispanic, whether I'm training an Indian, whether I'm training a white boy. Like, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Because they know and understand what you see is what you get from Coach Swag, and I'm going to be genuine and pure all the way through. I just expect you to match the energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we spoke about the physical part of it, and I think both of you guys touched on the mental part of it. So, Coach Swag, when you first starting with a kid, and I think you mentioned this a little bit, just trying to break down and find things, bring things out, find their niche. But the mental part of it goes into training. You have to be mentally strong because it's a grind.
For sure.
That's things that you have to do in training. Everybody looks at the end product, what you see on film or see on TV or, see on a Friday night or, a Saturday, hoops, soccer, whatever it is.
Right.
How do you start to break that down in the initial stages of training?
Well, essentially, I kind of go with what Coach Jay says, and I just talk to, it's a triangle. Mm-hmm. It's myself, the athlete, and the parent. And so one thing I always realize is sometimes in that triangle, the parent is a little bit more adamant about the sport or what they doing than the kid is. And so I just let it be known. I'm like, hey, when you on this turf, you with Coach Swag. You not with your mom. You not with your dad. So whatever they have to say, it's irrelevant. Not to be disrespectful, and you still respect what they have to say, but I don't need you to be thinking in the back of your head, what are they looking at me? What are they doing? Am I doing this right? Like, no, I just need you to be comfortable and be relaxed. And so in whatever scenario you should be in, you should always be cool, calm, and relaxed. And that's what I tell my athletes. As soon as I meet them and see them, I say, just relax. Just be calm, cool, and collective, because I've never seen anybody in panic mode be successful. When you're in panic mode, you just do things just instinctively, and sometimes it don't make sense. Mm-hmm. But when you actually are calm and relaxed about a situation, now you can actually gather your thoughts and say, all right, what I need to do, even if it's at a fast pace. You train your mind to be able to relax and think at a fast pace. And so now you can just say, okay, this happened. How does LeBron do the things that he does? It's not that he always in a frantic or he's always panicking. He always chilling. He always cool. Sometimes you might see him laugh or some things like that, but he's always in a relaxed state. So, Mark, to answer your question, honestly, it's just I want to make sure that my kids are always at a relaxed state. And
Absolutely.
even to the point where I'll talk about this real quick. I have a 707, the Texas Aces. Shout out to Coach Darius Lemon. Shout out to my dog. But our quarterback, he's a phenomenal quarterback. He's a freshman, but he's playing 18U. I'm going to shout him out too. Jalen Gaines, he going to be a starting quarterback for the Colony. Look out for that boy. He's a real deal. I'm telling people right now. But I was telling him, he was getting hyped. He was getting amped. And I'm like, bro, just chill. Like, you're a quarterback. You can't get amped and you can't get turned like the receivers are because everybody's looking at you. So you can get excited and you can get hyped, but you have to maintain.
Even kill.
You got to be even. You got to be cool and collective. And so even in that state, just learning, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, Coach, that's like, man, I don't like doing that. I like to be hyped. Well, it's cool to be hyped. It's a time and place for everything, right? And so, look, you can be rah-rah, but when it's time to chill and gather your troops together, you got to be in chill mode and be cool, calm, and collective and say, fellas, it's showtime, go time. We got to do this. We got to execute this way, that way. But you can't be, because when you're doing that, now everybody riled up and they not really listening. So, you know, that and let me stop there right there because I know Coach J finna go spit. I know. I see it.
No, it's really my process, man, is starting, ankles all the way to the head,
Correct.
Head back down to the ankles.
Correct.
Because when it comes to speed, your foundation is your feet and ankles. If that's weak, everything else is not going to work. So the mental part is, like you said, understanding energy. If I'm always rah-rah, that energy is not going to last, right? So I have to learn how to utilize what I have, the energy. And then you have to think about, it took me a long time to really understand this. Do you want it early? Meaning, do you want your kid to be the best now, where middle school, early high school, they the best in the country physically, but by the time they get to college, there's not much left in the tank. So how do you, play around with that science by taking what God gave them and you just tweak it a little bit to where they're still fresh and have a lot left to give? Because the one thing we all know, when you get to college, the one thing they're going to say, we ain't worried about the weight program. We have that at every college on the planet. We want to add bulk to you. We're going to do that ourselves.
Correct.
We don't want a finished product. We want something that we can improve on here. But we want kids that's going to buy in. We want kids that understand how to work, right? We want kids that understand adversity. So through the functional movement training, you're giving them those tools. You know what I'm saying? Because you're throwing a lot of things at them they have to adjust mentally. And then outside of that, you talk them through it, and say, this is what it's going to look like. Right.
Oh, for sure.
And just the blessing, that whole 2021, 22 class, I had all those kids from middle school. Every last one of them still playing.
It's crazy.
Every last one of them, So that was a blessing in the fact that the training worked.
Right.
Every single one. And the only one that didn't make it, sadly enough, mom did exactly what I told her not to do, and it worked out the opposite.
Right.
So I truly believe in developing kids to get there with some gas in the tank.
Right.
Facts.
And it's tough because, again, everybody's like, oh, I need it. But maybe it was just a blessing that I had some kids that were just gifted and just was able to, push them and give them the tools. Right. But I still stick to that. I don't want a finished product in middle school, high school. Have some gas left in the tank when it count. When you get to the money that free, then it count. And you don't want to get there and be mentally exhausted to where I don't want to work no more.
Right. Nah, that's facts.
Right.
It is such a thing, burning out.
Burnout is real.
It's real.
And here's the thing that no parent, you can't tell me as a parent. I have kids, you got kids, no way you on this planet you going to tell me that when your kid is going to get burned out.
You don't.
There's no way.
Facts.
That window, and nobody on the planet could tell me, now I'm talking track specific, is when their speed window is going to close.
Right.
So again, do you want it early or do you want it late?
Right.
So many kids go to college that were super fast in middle school and high school, and the coach is like, man, I can't even deal with them.
Right.
Because they don't have nothing left. They don't want to work no more because they've been working so hard for years.
Right.
So again, if you don't have that balance of how do I taper back and just let this kid be a kid, right? And grow versus, again, we don't know what their mental is, right? Day in, day out of having to worry about being good, being great, being gifted. At some point, right, that you're going to tap on that window.
No, for
and
sure.
will it break?
Hey, man.
I want it to break when you're done.
Right.
Later on. I don't want it. Look,
when you
I
got
don't
that
need
degree
those,
in hand.
exactly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I tell y'all a story real quick, and I'll be done with it. People probably don't even know this, but I intentionally didn't take my kids, even if they qualified to nationals every year for track. And the reason being, I would watch them all season. I would see if they're getting to the point to where they're just maxed out and tired, and then I'll say, you know what, qualify, and then we won't even go. I won't tell them that, right? But the thing was to say, okay, I'm looking at the no. Yes, it's a great experience, but I'm always thinking about the mental part, right? How is it going to affect them later to go and spend that kind of money, and then mentally you're not there and you get your head knocked off in the first round? Sometimes you never recover from that.
Man, confidence.
You know what I'm saying? You never recover from that. So I felt like it was better for me to say, you know what, let me gauge their activity. Let me gauge and see when enough is enough, right? And I always felt like we got enough in during the year and during the summer to where, okay, we can, finish up here. We good. You know what I'm saying? And it seemed to have worked.
Absolutely. And those are the type of things that you want to express when you're in that particular mode. Sometimes, if you're training in a large group, you can't get that across. But, when you get a smaller group where you can make an emphasis on that. And preaching development is a key thing as well. But I'm going to take a minute just to thank our sponsor, Epic Sports Apparel, for sponsoring the show. And also, click in the chat. Donate to the show. Keep us going. We're bringing you amazing content every week, the On Your Mark Show right here on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Shout out to Coach Richard Pryor, who's watching. Shout out to everybody who's tuning in today. His comment today was, as a coach, mentor, and tutor, I share the same views as Coach Swag. We as black men, we can be positive influences on young men's lives. And that's what we're trying to be here on the On Your Mark Show.
Yes, sir.
Is a positive influence each week to coaches, players, parents, anybody that tunes in and watches us knows that we're trying to educate and elevate you through what we talk about here on the On Your Mark Show. Click that link, share this, follow the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel as well, and go to everyplayicompete.com and check out the merch. Of course, this is what the On Your Mark Show,
yes, sir.
On Your Mark Sports, check out Coach's Flex Zone, which is coming up this summer, late spring. We'll be talking about that in the next few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
But let's talk about getting prepared for those type of things. As we talked about, you saw the upper echelon of combine or camp situations or environments was the NFL Combine over the weekend.
Right.
You two guys are very versed in that. But everything trickles down from things like that. Every circuit that you see, from Under Armours to Rivals to any camp setting, takes its mantra or gets examples of how to be or how to compete in a combine setting from the NFL Combine. That's the big to-do. That's how they do it. Now, running or not competing is the big to-do when it comes to going to camps, how you get there, and how you prepare for that. Coach, I will start with you, Coach Swag. These are the type of things and discussions that people actually need to know about and be well-versed in before you get into that setting. You can't go to the camp, combine, or even a 7-on-7 big tournament. It's a showcasing within itself. Shout out to Coach Jay and Prospect Sports. They've been doing their thing.
Oh, yeah. Got
a big tournament this weekend in Lockhart, Texas. You have to be able to perform when you get into these particular stages. Talk about that a little bit. And, when you get these questions of when you want to run and when you shouldn't run, sometimes parents and players don't really take that into account. So, Coach Swag, I'll start with you and then, chime in, Coach Jay.
Okay. Well, first things first, just as far as my experience with the combine, I was blessed and fortunate enough. When I was in college, I actually went to the regional combine, and so I got to experience that. I also had a couple of players. Shout out to Isaiah Williams. I'm about to say fighting a lot now. He was also at the combine this year. But just to speak on the combine, man, I really, now that I've looked at it and years have went by, and I can consider myself a miniature OG.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Like, I truly feel like the combine is clearly it's a prep. It's like the ACT or the SAT. It's really a prep to what you know or what you can do. You know what I'm saying? And so clearly we see all the time that people don't hit their numbers that they want to, but they're still successful on that gridiron in the NFL. So a prime example, I was telling Isaiah the other day, Jarvis Landry ran a 4.67 if I'm not mistaken. And now we seeing all these receivers like Xavier, he just ran a 4.22. You know what I'm saying? Does that mean that Xavier is better than Jarvis? We can't sit up there and say that, you know what I'm saying? But we can sit up there and say that at the end of the day, Xavier Worthy, he prepared, he had a better preparation than I will say Jarvis Landry throughout that period of time. And when you're prepping, it's really mental too. It's really mental. You can psych yourself out on the 40, thinking that man, I run 40s all the time, and I'm running consistently 4.4s, and then get up there and when it's combine time, and you get a little nervous, and you end up running a 4.6, and you be like, man, where did that come from? So, I mean, when I look at things like that and look at the nature of what it takes to participate and be in a combine, just like anything, it's reps. It's reps. And then knowing yourself and knowing your body during that time. Because like you said, well, shoot, if my son wasn't ready to run his 40, I'm not going to force him to run his 40. So now it's looking on us. I'm not going to do anything we don't have to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not obligated to do anything. I came here, and whether it's an invite or not, I'm doing what I want to do and doing what I'm prepared to do. And so next time coming around, that's why God is so good. We live to fight another day. So let's say I do well in my vertical, my broad jump, in my 5.10.5. I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good after all of that. I'm not running my 40. It's okay to do that. That's what people need to understand. It is okay. And so just picking and choosing your battles wisely. We talked a little earlier about Caleb Williams. He didn't do anything. But guess what? He doesn't have to. When you Caleb Williams and you showed your production on the field, I don't have to do anything because my game speak for itself. So I truly say, just for parents and for players, know and understand what product you have put out there prior and be realistic with yourself. And like I said, it's a triangle. And so if you have a great trainer or you have a great mentor in that field, then I think it should be an expert. You should find an expertise and talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Talk about why I shouldn't run them or why I should. And prime example to one of my running backs, I told him, I said, well, if you're not feeling good at some of these showcases, as long as you run a 10.9 in that 100, I'm going to tell you right now, coach is still going to be looking at you because it's equivalent. You know what I'm saying? It's the same ass. So you might not run that 40. You might not have to run a 40, but you still got that 10.9 on that 100. And I bet they still going to look. So you got to know and understand what you can do and how you can maneuver. So I'm going to let Coach J take it because I know he ready.
So let's go middle school, high school, since you got the NFL part, because we got to have a starting point, right?
Correct.
If I'm a parent, I'm in middle school, what does that look like? Exposure camps, FBU, USA, SPE. You take your babies to get tested in a controlled, chaotic environment, and then you take those numbers, and then moving forward, before high school, I want those numbers on paper to understand that, okay, these are numbers that I have to work towards to drop to get better, to get in a higher percentage. But once I get to high school, do not step foot on any college campus until you know for 100% fact we've worked to get those numbers right. And here's why. A lot of people say, no, I want to go get exposure at a college camp. You're going to get exposed. If you're not sure of what your baby is going to do, standing broad jump, 5'10", 5'40", and you just show up to say, we're going to get tested at a college camp. Whatever they put on paper stuck to them like glue. Now, if it's horrible, guess what? They're not recruitable.
Correct.
If they show up, they don't look good without their shirt on, they don't look good in the jersey, guess what? You put up bad numbers, you're not a part of this recruiting cycle. We're not even going to follow you because the numbers aren't there. So, again, why go until you know these are the numbers that we're capable of hitting, right? And you got to have a way to stand out, right? So if you're not already super tall, super fast, you have to be able to control the controllables, and that's what you put on paper. So don't go until you know what you can put on paper. And scientifically, if you train enough, I know my kid is going to run a fast 5, 10, 5. I know my kid is going to run to the 10th of this 40 because we've done it, right? Now, again, mentally who shows up that day, you can pay attention, right, and say, okay, look, you look off. Don't run this 40. We'll do it later, right? And the earlier, you don't have to do all of that stuff early because, again, unless you look like those guys in the room, they may not recruit you anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So it's important to make sure that whatever you put on paper is something that's palatable, something that they'll eat and digest and say, okay, this is the kind of kid we want. Yes, we see the growth. But if you come and you put you're a running back and you run a 5 flat, they don't care if you're a freshman or not. Next time they ever will look at you, you better run a 4.4.
Got to.
Otherwise, you don't exist no more.
Correct.
Right.
So why put that on paper?
Right.
Do that in the controlled setting to where you can control the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the smartest thing to do, pre-high school, go do whatever you're going to do. That's fine because it don't matter, right? You can go to a college camp and do it. That's fine, whatever. But 9th grade on, you better be careful about where you go and what numbers you put on paper because it could really hurt you, period.
Absolutely. Quick question. Shout out to Coach Pryor who's tuning in today. I'll start with you, Coach Swag. Quick question for you guys. How do you handle multiple sport players and parents who want to move into football preparation before the track season is done? You know, they're involved in track, really working out hard for that, but they try to go and start, football preparation. This is questions. He's had track athletes that have pulled hamstrings or got injuries, soft tissue injuries, while during the track season preparing for football or another sport. Coach Swag.
Well, what I would say to that, because I actually have to deal with that all the time because I try to let the coaches know, the high school coaches know, I am not your competition. I'm your best friend, and I want to work with you. You know what I'm saying? And I want to elevate the kids however you want to elevate the kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to diss anybody, or I don't want to discredit anybody. I want to help you, help me. So essentially, it's mandatory. I tell my kids, man, what type of workouts are you guys doing at track? Are y'all doing 1, 2, 3s? Y'all going 250, 350, 450s? Like, I need to know what you're doing. So then when I come back, or when you guys come back to me, it's more so recovery and mechanical work. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you only have so much time with the individual or with a kid. So with that being said, you got to know and understand, all right, well, if they're already running hard, they're already putting ground and pound on their hamstrings, well, we don't need to go ahead and attack and do these heavy lifts. We need to be working on the hip flexor, the bicep femorals. We need to work on the small things to where we can just take them to the next level and enhance them in that way. And so it doesn't take anything to teach a kid how to properly do a broad jump. It doesn't take much to properly teach a kid how to mechanically jump the correct way for a vertical jump. So it's more so diving into the mechanics and the specifics of what that individual has to do in the spring. You know what I'm saying? And like you were saying, preparing them for that aspect versus saying, all right, we need to do more heavy work or heavy load work because they already going through it during track. And so that's exactly why it's good to have a relationship with the high school or the athletic director or the trainer or the coach or whoever when you're up there as a trainer. You know what I'm saying? And so essentially that's what I would like to do, and that's what I'm aiming towards, is to really have a great connection with not only my athletes but their coaches, because it's a family at the end of the day.
Coach.
Biggest thing is look at the programming as far as, you know, what kind of work are they doing in every situation, whether it's school track, you know, off the school training. Always look at the programming, because if you have a kid that's doing the same workout twice a day, 2 different places, that kid is on his way to disaster anyway.
Correct.
So I've done with my own kids, so I know it works. We've left a track meet, went and played basketball, back to a track meet, and my kids don't get hurt because we do yoga, we do a lot of resting, we do a lot. So if I know we're competing, you know, in a football game or track meet, 2 days before, we're doing the mental stuff, we're doing walkthroughs, right? And we're just doing active mobility just to get their body ready so they're not stagnant, but we're not doing a whole lot of extra, you know, work. So if I know we're running at a track meet, right, then 2 days before, again, we're doing mobility just so we know that our legs are going to be ready, they're not going to be stagnant. So there's a ton of different things that you can do. But if you're already having hamstring issues, then my suggestion, pull that kid completely, because once that hamstring pops, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Pull that kid, take those couple of weeks off, let it heal completely. You don't want kids running on nagging injuries like that, because once it goes, now you got the mind to deal with. Can I recover from a knee injury, from a hamstring injury? Can I go full speed ever again?
Right.
And that's, again, something that we don't know. So I would rather err on the side of caution and say, you know what, let me back you all the way down.
Right.
Because right now, your health is way more important than winning a game long term.
Yes.
So you have to always look at the programming. Ask questions. What are you doing at this practice? And if the kid don't know, hey, write it down, right? And then what are you doing at the next practice? If you're doing the same thing, that's a setup for injury. And it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's
a problem.
It's a matter of when, not if.
Right.
So always look at the programming of, you know, and then what is my rest ratio? And what am I doing during rest? Am I eating right? Right? Am I doing active mobility while I'm resting? What am I doing when I rest?
Correct.
That no days off stuff is really going to hurt a lot of kids, because your body recovers and gets better when you rest.
Yes.
It can't get better if you constantly run and constantly work. You got to have time to where your body repairs itself. And that's only when you're resting. You tear it down when you work.
Right.
And the reparation comes when I rest. So you have to look at, and you have to be nosy, because, again, that's your child.
Right.
Coach, you got to be nosy. You got to know what my kid is doing.
Right.
What kind of workouts. If I'm going and 6 o'clock in the morning I'm squatting, right, and I'm doing hamstring curls, and then as soon as I get off, right, I'm jumping, of course my legs are going to be
they shot
done.
Right.
Because there is not enough time in between from what I did earlier.
Right.
My muscles are already in trouble. So now I'm going to do explosive work right after, and then the next day, the same thing, and no. At some point, you got to know, and again, when you're having kids doing different sports, you got sometimes that challenge between, well, this is my work, and then, no, this is my work. I'm going to get this kid better, so we're going to add more over here. We're going to add more over here. Now that competition, who suffers? That one in the middle.
Right.
So if you're not the buffer, if you don't know what's going on in the middle, right, with your kid is the one that's going to be the one that's suffering.
Facts.
Long term.
Facts.
Well, that's why recovery is a key piece, and that goes into all of those things. Stretching, recovery, and then getting back. And then you have to work different muscle groups, not the same muscle group every day. You know,
it's
and
important.
That comes with getting the right pieces around you, the right environment around you.
Correct.
When you're training. Those are the type of things that we have to know when you have to know your athlete and be successful. To be successful later on, those are the type of things you have to know those.
Facts.
You can't just keep pumping the whole out. I mean, you guys grew up and you saw Popeye the Sailor Man, and he pumped his arms, but eventually one arm was bigger than the other one. You have to give your athlete a chance to recover when it comes time to recover.
Absolutely.
That's just as important as the training aspect itself. You know,
For sure.
Recovery is important. Speak on that, Coach.
Man, I gotta speak on that. That's key. And so what I tell my kids, because my kids are kind of like how I was when I was younger. I used to be like, no days off, go, 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 go. All right, well, hey, it's no days off, but no one understand that recovery is also a part of training. If you don't recover, you are missing a high key piece of training. Most individuals, for the combine, prime example, last year I was at Sports Academy, and I was with Les Spellman. I got to just see how they were working and how they were moving. For the first hour before, like preparation, before they started to run, they were rolling out and they were barefoot. They were barefoot, rolling out on tennis balls, rolling out on lacrosse balls, literally rolling out, getting their minds right. And that's an hour. That took a whole hour, and you see nothing but NFL future kids at this point, but I'm about to say young adults literally laying down like they about to go to sleep, just relaxing. And then after that hour hits, boom, we hitting it. You know what I'm saying? We practicing on excel, decel, you know what I'm saying, getting ready for the 40. So to go back to what I was saying, man, if you're not resting properly, you can't even expect your body to move and function the way you want it to function. Because at the end of the day, if it's too tired, you're always going to compensate, which is going to lead to what? An injury. It's going to lead to an injury, and that's what we don't have time for. You know what I'm saying? So how about we recover properly like we're supposed to, so we're not doing it on the back end when we're hurt. So not only are we recovering, we're recovering and trying to get back to where we already were. So how about we just relax? And that's what I emphasize so much, man. If you have, I feel like me personally, if you have 2 hard days back to back, 3 strikes and you out, you need to go ahead. That third time, it's mandatory that we rest. I tell my kids, essentially, I started to see it. You can't come to me 4 days in a row unless one of those days is a recovery day. If you coming to me just to work, then you can't come to me. And I tell the parents that, like, I care too much about your children's body to just go ahead and just throw their bodies away like that. You know what I'm saying? I see people on the roads all the time in Corvettes. They not doing the dash every single time. I'm about to say, last time I checked, sometimes the Corvettes be going the slowest.
Right.
But they know the capability is there.
But they know the capability is there. Right. And so that is my point when I made that one right there, is that know your body and know yourself. And parents, you need to read the room or read your children. If your children are really saying that they tired and it's not like them to be like that, then it's an indicator. The red flag then went up, and we need to push back, or pull back, I should say, and chillax. So,
and another jewel, parents, I'll give you: spend the money. Something that no trainer or coach can tell you. Spend the money every year, at least once a year. Get their blood work done. Look under the hood, because there are things that no coach, no trainer can see that's going on internally.
And check the heart.
Heart.
I was definitely gonna say that too. From the heart. Also check the bones.
Absolutely.
Check the cartilage, because kids grow differently. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know at the rate that they're growing, right, some workouts can pull hips, all of those things. That just happened to a friend of mine's son. Kid just starting to grow real fast. One workout, popped his hip. Now he had to have surgery, and he out of sports for a whole year, right? But again, if we look at those things, and these are all things that I've done every year before we start training for a sport, we got to go and get the blood work done. I want to see what the blood platelets are. I want to see what everything looks like under the hood. Are you growing properly? Because, again, it's a lot of movement, a lot of throwing stuff around, your body, all of that stuff. You want to make sure that you're connected, your body is connected correctly, stuff that we can't see. Right. So now if it's something going on inside the system, right, that's making you lethargic, I'm going to say as a coach, man, why are you so tired? That means we're not working hard enough. But again, I don't know. Let me look under the hood. So now we've answered that question. Right. There's nothing inside that's wrong. So now, is it in between the ears? But again, if I don't have all the information, right, how can I guide
Correct,
you without
correct.
all the information? So I know the body structurally we good under the hood. It's just like, again, I'm not finna go and race a car unless I know under the hood is good. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
It's the same thing with your kids.
Yes,
It's no
sir.
different.
Nah,
right?
for real though.
But
For
again,
real
a
though.
lot of times we don't want to take that extra step to look at that stuff because we say, oh, they human, they going, But no, if you really want them to be in a position to
Right.
where later on down the line, right, they can benefit from everything that you're giving them early,
Right.
then take control of that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But listen, man, we're running out of time. But the key points that you guys made are what is going to make these guys successful. So if they're paying attention and they're doing their homework, these are the type of things that you want to help your athlete. They got to develop. They got to be successful. Recovery, rest, all of those things go into it. A couple of shout-outs. Shout out to Coach Jackie Bridges for tapping in, Christina
Yeah.
George, Angela Mabins. We appreciate you joining us, tapping with us today here on the On Your Mark Show from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Coach Swag, before you get out of here, give out your social medias where anybody can reach out to you,
Oh,
Metro
no, for
Performance, and everything that you got going on.
So my Twitter handle is 314 Coach Swag, 314 Coach Swag. My Instagram, Lee_Metro and Metro Performance _7. You also can find me on TikTok, Coach Swag. So, hey, I'm hitting all platforms. Hey, I'm trying to feed out all information and just try to be a blessing. Anything you need as far as movement specialist, I'm your guy. Whatever sport you need, I can help you out. Any recovery, I can help you out. I'm just here to be a blessing and teach you a lesson. Let's get it.
And
Absolutely.
if you want to see him, go see him at his facility, but also outside of that.
Oh, yeah.
He's great at Flex Zone, my college showcase. He's also instrumental there as well. So, again, we feed each other in this cycle because we know it takes a village. So the reason why he's here is to continue to grow, and we want to make sure that all eyes are on him. So you'll see him around a lot. You can go back and look at some of the videos from our college showcase in Salina.
Oh,
Flex
yeah.
Zone. He's all over the place. Wherever we go, he's
Hey, we
rocking.
going back? We going to be back?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Let's get this money. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Well, we appreciate everybody for tapping in and joining us today. Listen, donate. Keep this show going.
Please
We were the
do.
number one new show on the Fishbowl Radio Network, the Guppy Show of the year in 2023. Now we're coming for the crown.
Yes,
we're gonna be the
sir.
best show. Donate. Click that link in the bio. Click that link in the chat part, and also follow us on the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. Check us out, man. Hit me up for anything that you need. Coach Jay in the building as well. Coach Lee Metro. Listen, tap in with my guy Maynard Mike as he takes us out. Shout out to my guy Scott Rapp on the look.
Yes,
Right.
We
sir.
out.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grind it. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.